Welcome to Friday. It's the 7th day of January, 2022. This Day Weather Podcast is being brought to you by Chugwater Chili. Try Chugwater Chili Steak Rub. It's smoky and it's a spicy blend of spices. It's the perfect way to season up your steaks, your ribs, your fish, your burgers, and much more. You'll never be bored with your meat dishes again. Try Chugwater Chili Steak Rub today. Use discount code ChugwaterDon for 20% off. Chugwater Chili, the spice of Western life. Well, there is a light, folks, at the end of the tunnel. It's not a train. We do have a break in the weather coming. However, we've got to get through some mountain snow tonight and early Saturday. A little more snow in the high country with another Pacific wave. But we're going to be fighting the wind in many areas through the weekend. It's the usual suspects with the wind. The high terrain areas of Wyoming and Colorado. The wind-prone areas where the wind gaps are in the mountains. Much needed break in the weather, though, is coming. It has been a pretty wild pattern here over the last 3 weeks. But for those of you who have been kind of waiting for the weather to break before you're traveling or need to go somewhere, we've got that coming up for you. Quiet conditions are going to be developing Sunday and maybe will last all the way through Thursday. We do have another system arriving late next week and next weekend. And we do feel that as we get to the middle to the end of January, we'll see winter weather return for a lot of the nation again. But Mother Nature takes breaths occasionally too. And that's what's going to happen here as we get to the middle of the weekend and early next week. Got a great photo yesterday, thanks to Kelly Steiner and Laramie. So you see what looks like a bunch of snowballs out there in the pasture? That field right there is full of what we call snow rollers. And this is something that doesn't happen frequently. In fact, when you get to observe a snow roller, it's kind of a unique thing. You have to have just the exact right setup for snow to fall, be the right temperature, and have the right conditions for the wind to pick up. And basically the wind rolls up these snowballs just like you do when you make a snowman. And so these happen occasionally, but it's rare to see it. And you can see how many are out there in that field. And what you have is a rare meteorological phenomenon where you get these snowballs that basically you need a little bit of a slope, you need a lot of wind, you need some fresh snow, but you really have to have the exact right setup to get these snow rollers to form. And that's what happened in Laramie yesterday. We had a lot of snow. We had it come in with Arctic air. It was a fine powdery snow. Then the winds kicked in. You got a Chinook off the mountains. It warmed up. The winds got very strong and gusty to the point where that snow was able to melt a little bit and become that sticky snow that makes for great snowballs and snowmen. And then that wind picked up the snow, rolled it around, and you got snow rollers. Wanted to show you a quick update on snowpack across some of the western United States. The snowpack figure is really impressive. Anywhere you see blue and green, the snowpacks are doing well, but blue especially. And if you can see here, the snowpacks in Wyoming, this area of the state, these drainages here, this is the type of snow that if we can keep it going on at least an average pace, will really help with the season when it comes to a runoff. Now, we need to keep it going, but this is a tremendous turnaround in several weeks. Notice the Belle Fourche really suffering. The Black Hills, the northeast corner of Wyoming, western South Dakota, really suffering. They have not benefited. In fact, many areas, the snowpack drainages here just have not benefited from this pattern. And it's because they're the farthest away from the Pacific. We need the pattern change for these areas to do better. And I do see that coming later this month. But this area here will start to see a better snow situation and snowpack situation. When we go into Colorado, wow, Colorado snowpack, these are just fantastic numbers. Look at that, 136% of average in the North Platte in Colorado. You combine that with 128 in North Platte in Wyoming. That's great for the Platte River system. The South Platte now 124% of average. Montana snowpacks are growing and climbing as well. Idaho, look at Idaho. Every snowpack drainage in Idaho is above 100%. Utah is the same thing. These are just fabulous snowpack numbers. Here's the latest satellite photo. This little swirl of clouds right here. This is the next front and trough that's going to move very quickly tonight and in and tomorrow across the Rockies, bringing in a little bit more in the way of weather. But this low is the last for a while in a series of lows and storms that have been rolling through the Pacific Northwest and the Rockies. Here it is right here. It's just this little dimple in the flow, just this little kink right here. That's what's going to come in later on tonight and into Saturday morning. And here it is by noon Saturday. This trough is just coming on through very quickly. But notice it's not digging into the four corners. It's more heading off to the east. And so what that will do is that's going to allow this high pressure ridge to build in to the Rockies and the Great Basin by Monday morning. Notice the high pressure ridge that's been here for the last 3 weeks is gone. That means a weather change here. So when a high pressure ridge goes away and replaced with a low pressure ridge in the Gulf of Alaska, that means high pressure for the western United States. So for those of you tired of this winter weather, you get a smiley face because you're going to get a break. And you're going to get a break too. The travel weather Sunday through Wednesday and into Thursday gets remarkably better as well. However, folks, we still have to kind of suffer through more wind and more blowing snow problems today, tonight, into early Saturday. Now, what happens in these situations when you get these highs that come into the Great Basin this time of year, especially with all the snow that's fallen? I want to show you something. Notice that the warmer temperatures relative to average are now east of the divide, and the colder temperatures are west of the divide. This is because the high pressure acts like a lid on the atmosphere, and what this does is it slows down the wind, and the basins west of the divide get cold. Basically, the cold air gets trapped. So this is where you have Salt Lake City, you have the western valleys here, get those inversions. And that's where you get the smog and that type of thing that's set on up. Look at southwestern Wyoming. You know, this is where Big Piney and Pinedale, you're going to be near or below zero every night for several days next week, while east of the divide, temperatures are a little bit warmer. But this type of pattern, folks, also leads to this. This is the wind forecast for noon on Monday. Now, there's a little bit of wind, but look at all the ones and the twos and the threes and the fours. This is going to bring us that more settled weather pattern in a few days where the wind catches its breath. Trust me, the wind will come back, but it's going to be a nice break. Now, the next system that comes on in is this next wave that wants to come in sometime Thursday night, Friday, and into the weekend with a couple of lows here. Kind of a convoluted pattern, but notice high pressure starts to build in the eastern Pacific again. And if that happens, that just instigates the trough dipping again and allowing that cold air to come back into the United States. Have yourself a good Friday and a great weekend, everybody. The weather is getting better soon, but we've got to suffer through another day and a half of the wind and the colder weather. Have yourself a good weekend.